The first sign came as a flicker on the sensors. At first, it seemed nothing more than a strange blip at the edge of the solar system. John Carter, a man who had spent most of his life reading signals from the stars, stared at the screen. His brow furrowed, not in confusion but in the kind of thought that came after decades of knowing the universe was bigger than humans could imagine. "That's unusual," he muttered under his breath. Beside him, Emma Brooks adjusted her headset. She had worked in civilian space coordination for almost 10 years, and though she had never expected to be at the center of something this monumental, her instincts told her something serious was happening. "How unusual?" she asked quietly, trying not to let her worry show. John didn't answer right away. The blip had grown into a small stream of data, almost like someone had been watching and finally decided to move. "Not just unusual," he said at last. "It's organized, and it's coming closer." Emma felt a chill run down her spine. For all of humanity's pride, space had always been a place of mystery, something distant and abstract. But now, there was proof that something beyond their solar system was paying attention to Earth. The next hours were filled with silent tension. Satellites and deep space sensors around the world started picking up more signals. Governments began to communicate quietly, exchanging data and observations. The world's leaders had long dismissed the idea of a galactic civilization, believing that if aliens existed, they would be too far away to matter. Now, they were beginning to reconsider. In Washington, Alex Morris, a naval commander with decades of experience in strategic defense, convened an emergency meeting. Screens flickered with streams of data, star charts, and alerts. "We have no proof they are hostile," Alex said, his voice steady but tense. "But they are moving into a position that suggests more than curiosity." Claire Donovan, a communications specialist, leaned forward. She had spent her life translating signals from space, and she knew the difference between noise and intention. "We are being watched," she said simply, "and they are very good at observing us." Back at the observation center, John and Emma worked in silence. Every now and then, John would glance at the screen, trying to read patterns. "Their fleet isn't close yet," he said. "But they are studying us. Every broadcast, every satellite movement, every military exercise, it's all being recorded." Emma swallowed hard. "How do we even know they are like us? They could be dangerous." John's eyes didn't leave the screen. "That's exactly why we have to be careful. We don't know what they want. All we can do is watch and prepare." The days that followed brought more evidence. Observatories around the world reported strange readings from beyond Pluto. Tiny objects in space, moving in formations no natural force could create. Long-range sensors detected energy pulses, signals that carried structure and pattern. Humanity was being watched, not by a small curiosity probe, but by a civilization capable of interstellar travel. It was in the quiet hours of one night that John finally said what had been on his mind for days. "They're not coming for trade," he said, voice low. "They're coming for control." Emma turned to him, her expression tight. "How can you be sure?" John sighed. "We've been sending signals for over 100 years now. Our broadcasts are open, loud, messy. Any advanced civilization could ignore us. The fact that they didn't, that they are paying attention, it means we matter to them." On the other side of the globe, news of unusual space activity began to leak. Social media exploded with speculation. People were anxious, but many were also excited at the thought of first contact. Governments tried to keep panic under control, but it was impossible. The news had already reached every corner of the Earth. Alex Morris and his team started running simulations. Using every piece of data from satellites, deep space sensors, and radar, they tried to imagine the capabilities of the approaching fleet. Every scenario ended with the same conclusion. If this civilization chose to attack, humanity would face a challenge unlike anything it had ever seen. But even in the face of this threat, John and Emma believed in one thing: humans were adaptable. They had survived ice ages, plagues, and countless wars. Against a superior enemy, they might not have the firepower, but they had creativity, resilience, and unpredictability. Those were things no galactic empire could easily calculate. Late one evening, as Earth rotated silently under the stars, John and Emma watched as the blips on the monitor grew brighter. They were closer now, moving past the outer edges of the solar system. Emma's hand rested on the console, as if she could somehow touch the unknown. "Do you think they know we are ready?" she asked. John shook his head. "No, and that's why this matters. They don't know what humans are capable of. They see us as small, disorganized, easy to dominate. That's a mistake they might regret." Meanwhile, in a quiet part of the world, Alex, Claire, and their teams were preparing for the worst. Training exercises were intensified, emergency protocols updated, and global communication strengthened. Yet even as they worked, they understood that preparation alone would not be enough. Humanity would need to be clever, united, and fast. It was then that the first official signal from the Galactic Empire arrived. A ship, massive and glowing with a strange energy, appeared near the asteroid belt. It was not fast by human standards, but its size and the technology visible even from a distance were enough to make everyone realize the gravity of the situation. The signal was simple, formal, almost chilling in its tone. It was a message of observation, yes, but with a clear undertone. The Empire had noticed Earth, and they were evaluating the planet. Governments across the world scrambled to decode it. John and Emma, working alongside Claire, discovered that the message was not in any language they recognized. Yet there was no doubt. It was directed at humans, not a random star system. For the first time, fear touched the heart of humanity. Not fear of death, but fear of the unknown. What did the Empire want? Could Earth survive the attention of a civilization that had conquered hundreds of other worlds? John leaned back in his chair, rubbing his eyes. "They are not making a mistake," he said. "They are watching carefully, but here's the thing, they don't know us. They see humans as weak. That is their first mistake." Emma nodded slowly. "And our chance. We can't let them make a second mistake. We have to show them that Earth isn't so easy to take." Across the planet, scientists, strategists, and leaders were starting to think in ways they had never considered. No longer was humanity divided by nations or politics. For the first time, the survival of the entire species demanded cooperation. Alex Morris stood in front of a holographic map of the solar system, pointing at the slowly advancing Imperial fleet. "We need a plan," he said. "Not just to defend Earth, but to make sure they understand one thing. One warning is enough. If they push, humanity will fight back in ways they can't predict." Claire Donovan glanced at him, her fingers hovering over the communication controls. "Do you think they will listen?" Alex's eyes were steady. "If they are wise, they will. If they are, well, then we'll show them the cost of underestimating humans." As night fell over the planet, John and Emma stayed at their console. Outside, lights twinkled in cities, forests, and oceans. Humanity was alive, fragile, and beautiful. And somewhere beyond the solar system, the Empire was watching, unaware of the storm it was about to awaken. The first part of humanity's story against the Galactic Empire had begun, not with weapons, not with war, but with observation, thought, and the quiet promise that Earth would not be taken lightly. In every country, in every city, the people were preparing in their own ways. Soldiers trained, scientists calculated, families whispered prayers, and children stared up at the night sky, dreaming of what might come. John Carter and Emma Brooks stayed at their stations, watching the monitors. Every signal from the approaching empire was a puzzle, every blip a question, and every moment a reminder that the survival of their world depended not on luck, but on human courage, ingenuity, and determination. For the first time in human history, the galaxy had turned its gaze toward Earth, and for the first time, humanity knew it was not alone. and though the Empire might think they were ready, they had yet to see what humans could truly do when pushed to the edge. The Empire's message had arrived, strange and formal, almost like a warning wrapped in cold curiosity. Governments across the world studied it, but no one could be certain what it meant. Some said it was a test, others claimed it was a threat. In reality, it was probably both. John Carter and Emma Brooks were at the main observation hub when the second signal came. It was larger, more complex than the first, and it carried a rhythm that almost sounded like a heartbeat. Claire Donovan worked beside them, analyzing the signal patterns. "They are not just observing us," she said. "They are learning about us. They want to understand exactly what we are capable of." Emma leaned forward, tracing the strange symbols that flickered on the screen. "Do you think they know we are preparing?" she asked. John shook his head. "No, they think we are small, weak, and divided. That is their biggest mistake." Across the globe, world leaders were in constant communication. The United Nations had convened an emergency session, bringing together representatives from every country. Alex Morris stood quietly at the edge of the room, letting politicians argue while he watched the monitors. He did not need to speak. He already knew what needed to happen. Humanity had to be united or it would fail. Claire Donovan finally spoke up. "If we send one message, it must be clear, one warning. It has to show that we are not easy to control, but also that we are not seeking war. They must understand that Earth is not a prize to take." The room went quiet. A warning, one message. That was all they had to convey. It seemed simple, but the implications were enormous. Every word, every tone would be studied by the Empire's censors. Any hint of weakness would be seen as an opportunity. John and Emma worked with Claire and the communication teams to craft the message. It was short, precise, and calm. It spoke of humanity's desire for peace but made it clear that any attempt to dominate the planet would be met with resistance. The wording was carefully chosen. Nothing arrogant, nothing fearful, only honesty. Meanwhile, Alex coordinated Earth's defenses. Military bases increased patrols, satellites were repositioned, and early warning systems were tested to their limits. Ships in orbit ran simulations, and every possible scenario was considered. Even with the Empire so far away, every precaution mattered. In the evenings, John and Emma would walk through the quiet streets of the city. People went about their lives, unaware of the massive fleets gathering beyond the solar system. Children played under streetlights, couples walked hand in hand, and life continued. It was comforting and terrifying at the same time. Humanity's fragility was obvious, but so was its strength. "Do you think they will listen?" Emma asked one night as they stood looking at the stars. John smiled faintly. "If they are wise, yes. If they are not, then they will learn the hard way." The day of sending the warning arrived. Across the world, communication satellites and radio transmitters prepared to beam the message toward the edge of the solar system. Claire stood at the main console, hands poised over the controls. John and Emma were beside her, tension heavy in the air. "Once it goes, there is no turning back," Claire said softly. Alex Morris, watching from the military command center, gave a small nod. "Then make it count." With a quiet hum, the message was sent. It traveled faster than light, carried by technology that human engineers had perfected over decades. In seconds, it was on its way to the unknown fleet. The room was silent as they waited, though they knew it would take time before any response could be detected. Hours passed like minutes. Every signal from space was scrutinized. Every blip on the monitor made hearts race. And then, just as the first light of dawn touched the horizon, the response arrived. It was not immediate, not loud, and not violent. It was a single message, simple and cold. It acknowledged the warning but did not promise anything. The Empire's curiosity and authority were clear. They had noticed Earth. They had heard the warning. And now they were considering their next move. Alex Morris leaned back in his chair. They are not attacking immediately, he said. That is a good sign or a dangerous one. John Carter rubbed his temples. It means they are thinking. They don't underestimate us completely, or maybe they are calculating the best way to crush us. Emma looked at the screen. We gave one warning, that's all we can do. Now it is their choice. Even as the humans waited, preparations continued. Ships in orbit trained together, Earth's forces coordinated globally, and scientists worked on technology that might make a difference. Every human on the planet was connected by one thought: survival. Ben Turner, a pilot newly assigned to Earth's Defense Forces, trained with precision every day. He studied maneuvers, simulations, and strategies that no one could guarantee would work. Every day, he reminded himself that he was not just flying for his own life, but for the survival of billions. Amy Wells, a systems engineer, worked to improve communication networks, ensuring that every ship, base, and city could stay connected if the Empire attacked. She spent long hours at the console, eyes fixed on the glowing maps of Earth and its orbit. Every calculation, every line of code mattered. On the ground, families continued their routines. Farmers worked fields, teachers taught children, and doctors cared for patients. Life went on, even with the shadow of a galactic empire looming. Humanity's daily struggles became a quiet testament to resilience. John and Emma met often with Alex and Claire. Together, they studied the Empire's signals, trying to read meaning between the lines. Every pattern, every frequency, every pulse was analyzed. They searched for weaknesses, for clues about what the Empire valued, feared, or misunderstood. Their strategy is patient, John said during one meeting. They are not rushing. They believe we are small and weak. They are waiting to see if we make mistakes. Emma frowned. Then we have to be careful. One wrong move, one sign of panic, and it could be disastrous. Claire nodded. Which is why we stick to the plan. One message, one warning, and then we hold. We cannot provoke them unnecessarily. We can only show them what we are capable of if pushed. Days turned into weeks. The Empire's fleet remained at the edge of the solar system, massive shapes glinting faintly in the distance. Humans continued to prepare, always aware that time was limited but determined not to show fear. Alex visited the observation hub one evening. He looked at the young men and women working tirelessly, preparing humanity's defenses. This is not about weapons alone, he said. It is about will. It is about showing that Earth will not be taken without cost. That is the warning they will remember. Emma looked at him. Do you think they understand that? Alex smiled faintly. They will, either now or later, but we cannot wait for them to understand. We must be ready for anything. In quiet moments, John and Emma reflected on the enormity of the situation. The galaxy had noticed Earth, and humans had sent one warning. It was a simple act, but it carried the weight of the entire species. It was a message of hope and defiance, a promise that humanity would not bow easily. The Empire, vast and ancient, might see humans as insignificant, but humans had survived against impossible odds before. And now, as they faced a force far beyond anything they had ever encountered, they relied not on fear but on courage, creativity, and unity. John stared at the stars late one night. Somewhere out there, the Empire was watching, calculating, and judging. And somewhere out there, the fate of Earth was beginning to take shape. Emma joined him, her eyes reflecting the tiny lights of distant satellites and the faint glow of the city below. Do you think they will attack? She asked quietly. John shook his head slowly. I don't know. But we gave one warning, and they will remember it. That is enough for now. And so humanity waited, prepared, and strengthened itself quietly. The warning had been sent. The Empire had heard it. Now the future hung in balance, uncertain and vast, stretching across the stars. Humanity had acted with care, intelligence, and courage. The Empire might see weakness, or it might see determination. Either way, the story of Earth was no longer a secret in the galaxy. And for the first time, Humans understood that survival depended not on strength alone, but on unity, ingenuity, and the will to defend what they loved. The first act of warning was complete. Earth had spoken, calmly and clearly. The Empire had listened silently, and the world held its breath. Somewhere beyond the solar system, the massive shapes of the Empire's ships shifted. Calculations were made, strategies considered. They had received the message. And the galaxy waited, as Earth prepared for what might come next. The quiet tension of Earth's days changed suddenly. A strange energy appeared on the sensors near the outer planets. It wasn't a full attack, not yet, but it was enough to make hearts race. John Carter stood at the observation console, eyes fixed on the display. "They are testing us," he said quietly. Emma Brooks, standing beside him, nodded. "It's not a full strike, but they are seeing how we react." Claire Donovan's fingers flew over the keyboard. "The patterns are deliberate. They are probing our defenses. If they find a weakness, they will use it." On the surface of Earth, Alex Morris coordinated the military. Ships in orbit moved into defensive formations, satellites shifted position, and all communication lines were checked. Every crew member knew this was the first real proof that the Empire could attack. Ben Turner, the young pilot, was ready in his fighter craft. He felt his heart pounding as he stared at the blips on the radar. He had trained for simulations, drills, and emergency maneuvers, but nothing prepared him for the real thing. "This is it," he muttered to himself. "This is the first real test." Amy Wells in the control center monitored the communications network. Every pulse from the outer fleet was tracked, analyzed, and predicted. She had to ensure that Earth's defenses were ready, even if the Empire tried something unexpected. The Empire's first move was careful. A single cruiser, enormous by human standards, moved close to the asteroid belt and released a series of energy probes. They flew in formation, scanning satellites and planetary defenses, testing Earth's reaction. "Do not engage yet," Alex ordered. "Let them see that we are organized, but do not give away our full strength." John watched the monitors, noting every move the probes made. "They are looking for patterns in our response. They expect us to panic. They expect us to make mistakes." Emma clenched her fists. "Then we won't give them that. We stay calm. We show them that humans are unpredictable." Across the globe, scientists, engineers, and military teams worked together. The probes were analyzed and studied. Every possible outcome was simulated. Humans relied on their creativity and speed, not on brute force. The first human response came quietly. Satellites were repositioned to confuse the probes. Communication signals were disguised, making it appear that Earth's defenses were weaker than they were. It was subtle, but it worked. The Empire's sensors recorded movements, expecting chaos, and found instead a calm, measured, and coordinated reaction. Ben Turner flew his fighter close to the first probe cluster. Using a combination of evasive maneuvers and energy pulses from Earth's orbital defense systems, he disrupted their formation without destroying them. It was a warning, not an attack. From the command center, Alex watched the battle unfold. "Good. Keep them busy. Show them we can defend ourselves, but do not escalate yet. Let them make the next move." The Empire responded. Another cruiser arrived, larger and faster, accompanied by smaller ships that formed a ring around the first probe cluster. They were testing more than defense. They wanted to see human decision-making, their speed, and their ability to adapt. John Carter studied the patterns. "They are learning," he said. "Every time we do something, they adjust. They are trying to predict us." Emma shook her head. "Then we make them wrong. Every time. They cannot predict humans the way they predict machines." And humans did. They improvised. Ships in orbit used gravitational fields to mislead the probes. Satellites moved unexpectedly, creating false signals. Humans adapted, using ingenuity rather than technology alone. Claire Donovan transmitted calculated bursts of interference, making the Empire's sensors misread Earth's defenses. Amy Wells adjusted communication networks to create fake formations. It was a dance of strategy, a careful game that humans had no choice but to play perfectly. On the ground, people did not realize the full scale of what was happening. Schools continued, businesses opened, and children played. But every human was part of the response in some way. Engineers, scientists, and soldiers were all connected, their work flowing into the defense systems like a single organism. The Empire's fleet paused at the edge of the solar system. It had expected to intimidate, to test, to dominate. But the humans had not panicked. They had responded with unexpected creativity, speed, and coordination. John leaned back in his chair. "They did not expect that," he said quietly. Emma looked at him. "Then they will try again, and next time it might be more serious." Alex Morris called a global briefing. Leaders from every continent joined through secure networks. He spoke calmly, clearly. "The Empire has tested us. Their probes have arrived, and humans have responded. We have shown them that we are not weak, but this is only the beginning. They will try again, and we must be ready to respond even faster and smarter." Ben Turner and his fellow pilots trained constantly. Each flight was designed to anticipate the next Imperial test. Maneuvers that had seemed impossible in simulations became real. They were fast, adaptive, and bold. Amy Wells and Claire Donovan worked together to ensure that communication lines could survive interference and attack. Every message, every calculation, every control signal was backed up and scrambled to confuse any sensors the Empire might use. Days passed. The Empire tested again, this time with energy pulses directed toward Earth's outer satellites. It was a warning, a small strike meant to measure reaction time. Satellites shifted position, energy shields activated, and no lives were lost. The Empire observed, calculating and adjusting, but humans had prepared for exactly this. John Carter spoke during a strategy meeting. "They are not attacking fully yet. They are learning, probing. Every move they make gives us information just as ours gives them information. But remember, we do not fight like them. They depend on order and calculation. We depend on adaptation and unpredictability." Emma nodded. "Then we use that. Every time they move, we respond in ways they cannot predict. They will think they understand us, and then we will surprise them." Alex Morris continued coordinating global forces. Earth's ships trained together, combining human ingenuity with the best technology available. Pilots learned to take risks, engineers learned to improvise, and communication networks ensured every person connected to defense systems could respond instantly. Ben Turner was flying near the first cruiser again. His fingers moved with practiced precision, adjusting shields and energy bursts to confuse the enemy. He maneuvered the fighter in ways the simulations had never predicted. The cruiser's sensors could not follow every movement. For the first time, humans made the Empire hesitate. Emma watched from the control center. "They are not invincible. They think they are, but they are learning the hard way." John Carter studied the data. "And they will continue to learn whether they like it or not." Humans are not easy to control. We adapt, we survive, and we fight in ways no empire can predict. The Empire's fleet began to retreat slightly, reorganizing at the edge of the solar system. It was a pause, a moment to reconsider strategy. Humans had responded faster, smarter, and more creatively than expected. Alex spoke to his team. "This is only the first test. They will return. But we have learned something important. We are not powerless. We are strong in ways they cannot understand. Our defense is not just technology. It is courage, adaptability, and unity." As night fell over Earth, John and Emma looked at the stars. The Empire's ships were far away, glowing faintly in the darkness. But Earth had survived the first test, and humans had shown the first proof of their resilience. Emma said quietly, "Do you think they understand now?" John shook his head. "Not yet. They might never fully understand. But they know we are not easy to control." That is enough for now. Across the globe, humanity slept, unaware of the massive test that had passed. Soldiers, engineers, pilots, and scientists remained vigilant. Every day was a training ground, every night a lesson in survival. Ben Turner cleaned his fighter after the day's maneuvers. Amy Wells reviewed system logs, checking for any signs of vulnerability. John and Emma stayed at their consoles, tracking every move the Empire made, analyzing patterns and preparing for what might come next. The Empire had learned something too. Humans were not predictable. They were not weak. They were resilient, clever, and dangerous in ways the Empire had not anticipated. And humanity had learned something as well. They could face a force far beyond anything they had imagined. They could respond with courage, strategy, and ingenuity. They could survive. The first strike had passed. The probes, the small attacks, and the tests had shown both sides what was possible. The Empire would come again, stronger, more cautious. But humans had already gained an advantage that the invaders could not see. The unpredictable strength of a species that refused to be dominated. John Carter stared at the stars. Somewhere out there, the Empire was plotting, calculating, and adjusting, but humanity had survived. Humanity had fought back in ways no one had expected. Emma placed her hand on his shoulder. "We showed them, didn't we?" John nodded slowly. "Yes. And next time we show them even more. They will never underestimate humans again." As night deepened, the world rested, but the war of minds and strategy continued. Humans had survived the first test. And the Empire would learn, slowly, that Earth was not an easy target. The pause at the edge of the solar system did not last long. The Empire's fleet had regrouped, larger and more organized than before. John Carter and Emma Brooks watched the screens in silence, knowing that the next phase was coming. The probes and tests had been warnings, but now the Empire was moving with intention. Alex Morris gathered the leaders of Earth's defense. His voice was calm, steady, and full of authority. "They are coming closer, not just to test us, but to see if they can dominate. We will not panic. We will not fight blindly. We will respond with every strength we have." Claire Donovan's fingers danced over the controls, analyzing every new signal. "They are cautious," she said, "but they are also confident. They think they know what we will do next." Emma leaned over the console. "Then we show them they are wrong. Every time they plan a move, we change it. Every expectation they have is a mistake." Far beyond the planets, the Empire's fleet advanced. The cruisers, carriers, and support ships glided silently through space, their shapes massive and intimidating. From Earth's perspective, it was awe-inspiring and terrifying. For years, humans had studied distant stars, hoping for contact, never imagining the reality would be a confrontation. John Carter studied the fleet. "They depend on precision and calculation," he said. "They think they can predict us, control us, overwhelm us. But humans are unpredictable. We adapt, we improvise, and we fight for survival in ways no machine can calculate." Alex Morris coordinated the orbital fleet. Ships moved in formations that were designed to confuse, protect, and strike if necessary. Earth's satellites projected false energy fields, masking true defenses. Pilots practiced maneuvers that no one could anticipate. Engineers adjusted systems constantly, keeping the Empire guessing. Ben Turner flew near the lead cruiser. His fighter moved in unexpected patterns, weaving between sensor beams and energy pulses. Every movement was calculated but also unpredictable. He was not alone. Hundreds of pilots executed the same strategy across orbit, creating chaos the Empire had not planned for. Amy Wells monitored communications, ensuring every ship remained connected and every signal was encrypted. The Empire's attempts to jam or mislead them failed repeatedly. Humans had learned quickly, and their adaptability became their greatest weapon. The first clash came near Jupiter's orbit. Energy pulses streaked through space, testing shields and systems. The Empire's ships tried to intimidate, but humans responded cleverly, not aggressively. Probes were neutralized, signals were scrambled, and ships moved as though guided by instinct rather than orders. John Carter watched, feeling a mix of pride and tension. They expected fear, he said. They expected chaos. They will find neither. They will find coordination, ingenuity, and resistance. Emma Brooks nodded. And they will see that humans are not to be underestimated. On the surface of Earth, people continued their lives, unaware of the battle unfolding in the darkness of space. Cities were calm, but below the calm was preparation. Factories, research labs, and defense facilities worked day and night. The entire planet had become part of a single organism, connected by a desire to survive and protect their home. The Empire tried again. A larger strike approached the asteroid belt, combining energy weapons and probe formations. They intended to test human reaction once more, to see if Earth would falter under pressure. Ben Turner led a squadron of fighters into the path of the strike. Using tactics no human military had ever practiced in training, they disrupted formations, neutralized energy pulses, and forced the Empire to adjust in real time. Each action was precise yet unpredictable, combining strategy with improvisation. Amy Wells directed communication networks to relay instructions instantly across ships. Claire Donovan scrambled signals, making it appear that Earth's defenses were weaker than they actually were. The Empire misread every move, thinking humans were desperate when they were actually executing a coordinated plan. Alex Morris watched the operation from orbit. "They believe they are in control," he said, "but we have shown them the cost of underestimating humans." For hours, the Empire tried to force Earth's defenses, probing every angle, testing every weakness. And for hours, humans adapted. Satellites shifted unexpectedly, energy shields absorbed more than predicted, and pilots executed maneuvers no simulator could replicate. John Carter leaned back, eyes tired but alert. "They are learning, slowly, but they are not fast enough. Humans respond faster than they anticipate." Emma Brooks studied the monitors. They expected submission, they expected fear, and all they found was resistance. Finally, the Empire made a move that revealed its true intent. A massive carrier approached Earth's inner orbit, its weapons charged and ready. It was meant to intimidate, to show the Empire's power. The humans on Earth could not match it in raw force, but they had something more valuable: unpredictability. Ben Turner and his squadron moved in perfect coordination. Every strike was calculated, every maneuver designed to confuse the Empire's sensors. Energy pulses from orbit disrupted targeting systems. Fighters created diversions, drawing the enemy into positions where they could be neutralized without direct confrontation. Amy Wells monitored every move, adjusting communications and relaying signals in real time. The Empire tried to jam, but every attempt was countered instantly. Claire Donovan manipulated the incoming signals, making the fleet misinterpret human positions and strength. The carrier, massive and imposing, fired a beam intended to destroy an orbital station. But the station moved unexpectedly, its shields strengthened by energy redistributed from nearby satellites. The beam struck nothing. The humans cheered quietly in control rooms across the globe. They were holding their ground. John Carter smiled faintly. "They think they are in control, but every action has consequences they cannot predict." Emma Brooks nodded. "And those consequences are lessons they will never forget." The Empire's fleet began to retreat slightly, reassessing the situation. They had expected weakness, disorder, and panic. Instead, they found a species that adapted, resisted, and fought in ways no one could have predicted. Alex Morris addressed the global command. "They are recalculating. They expected an easy target. They did not find one. But this is not over. They will return. We must remain ready, united, and unpredictable." Over the next days, humans continued to strengthen their position. Satellites were repositioned, orbital defenses upgraded, and fighter squadrons trained non-stop. Every move the Empire had made was studied and used to improve Earth's strategy. John Carter and Emma Brooks worked tirelessly, analyzing every signal, tracking every fleet movement, and predicting the Empire's next steps. Humans were learning faster than the invaders expected. Ben Turner flew daily missions, each one pushing his skills to the limit. He knew that every decision, every maneuver, could save lives and protect the planet. Amy Wells and Claire Donovan ensured that every communication line remained secure and every signal was optimized for defense. Finally, after days of careful engagement, the Empire made a final attempt. A fleet of massive ships approached, expecting to overwhelm Earth with sheer power, but the humans had prepared. They did not confront the fleet directly with brute force. Instead, they used strategy, improvisation, and deception. Fighter squadrons moved unpredictably. Energy pulses from orbit disrupted targeting systems. Satellites created false formations, confusing sensors. The Empire's fleet struggled to adapt to the human tactics, which combined intelligence, creativity, and courage. John Carter watched the battle unfold. They cannot predict us. They cannot control us. Every move they make is countered in ways they did not plan for. Emma Brooks smiled. And that is why we will survive, not because we are stronger, but because we are human. The Empire's fleet, massive and powerful, began to retreat. Slowly, deliberately, they moved away from the inner solar system, realizing that Earth was not an easy target. They had underestimated a species that was united, clever, and willing to fight for survival. Alex Morris addressed the Global Command one last time. The Empire is retreating. They have learned a lesson that cannot be taught by force alone. Humanity has survived not by strength but by ingenuity, coordination, and courage. Remember this. We are not weak. We are resilient. Across the planet, people did not know the full scale of the battle. Cities continued their routines, children played, and families went about their lives. But humanity had won a crucial moment, a moment that showed the galaxy that Earth was not a world to conquer easily. John Carter and Emma Brooks stood at the observation console, staring at the retreating fleet. "They will return," John said quietly. Emma nodded. "Yes. But they will never forget us. They will never forget that Earth gave one warning, and it was taken seriously." Ben Turner and his squadron landed, tired but triumphant. Amy Wells and Claire Donovan continued monitoring signals, ensuring that every system remained ready. The planet was safe for now, but humanity had learned something important. They were not powerless. They were clever, adaptive, and united. John Carter reflected on the weeks of tension, fear, and preparation. Humans had faced a force far beyond their technology, intelligence, and experience. And yet, through creativity, courage, and unity, they had survived. Emma Brooks placed her hand on his shoulder. "We showed them what humans can do, and we will be ready next time, too." The Empire had turned toward Earth, expecting weakness. Instead, they found a species that could not be predicted, controlled, or easily defeated. Humanity had given one warning, and it had been enough. The stars above Earth twinkled peacefully, but humans knew that the galaxy had changed. The Empire had learned a lesson that no fleet could erase. Earth was not a prize to be taken. It was a world defended by a species that would fight, adapt, and survive, no matter the odds. John Carter and Emma Brooks watched the skies, knowing that this was only the beginning. But they also knew this truth. Humans were strong in ways that no empire could calculate, and that strength would carry them through whatever the galaxy sent next. The Empire had retreated. Humanity had survived, and the story of Earth's courage, ingenuity, and unity would echo across the stars for generations to come. The Galactic Empire turned toward Earth, and we gave one warning.